welcome to my diary. I'm Tahtahme, and today I want to talk about the issue of being too poor to work, how little things will hold you back from being able to get more wages, get some wages, get a better job, get a job. It can really start to add up, and it can really start to get people down, especially because there's this idea that you just have to work at it, you just have to try at it. But in reality, you're kind of, you're trying to get up the hill, but you're sliding back because it's like made of sand. And there's just so many random little things, even things that you didn't consider before, that can hold you back from getting work. I have examples from myself, from my friends, from online randomly. So I'm just going to go ahead and just jump right into them and share. So I was going to make this video first, but then I didn't make it because I started getting all emotional about this in my mind. And then the very next day, I had a friend who posted about how she is an artist, but it's so cold literally in her apartment and she can't afford to have, even go out and get a heater, any of that type of stuff. She's somewhere on the East Coast. And so it was too cold for her to draw. She can't finish a commission. She can't make new art to put up on her, in her shop. She doesn't have any originals to sell right now. She doesn't have all these things because literally it's just too cold. She can't get in on the holiday rush because it's too cold for her to draw. I have another friend who had to give up a position that would have been salaried and like twice what she makes because she could not afford to get a fingerprint scan. She was the one who had to foot that bill, and she just couldn't afford the bill. She has a very small baby, and like a 2 or 3 year old, so it was impossible. So she could not get her fingerprint scan, and therefore she could not take this job. She had to have it pass up, and I think that one is just absolutely nuts. How the company themselves don't have to foot that. They can put it onto other people, and it definitely weeds out people who actually could do the job, but they're in a really rough spot right now, so they can't. Another one I saw recently was on Twitter. Somebody had to give up work recently. A trans woman had to give up work because the job went 2 hours after curfew at the shelter. And so the shelter will close their doors, they'll lock all your stuff in, and you won't be able to access anything, and you'll also be able to get kicked out of there if you're not spending the night there. So therefore this person had to give up their work because they live in a shelter, because they're too poor to have their own home. And these shelters like to create these types of rules so that they don't get as many people, they still have the funding, they don't have to put in as much effort. Another one that comes to mind is a friend of mine was in a hard spot. She needed some extra money, so she agreed to do some kind of dog sitting for a very low price. So she's talking with these people, and then it comes out that these people are like, it's not just like, oh, you're gonna have to feed the dogs, walk the dogs, pick up their poop or whatever for a week or two. It was like, these dogs have supremely special like needs. This dog, if it doesn't eat by this time, will puke. This dog doesn't have like a walk at this time, it will tear everything up. You need to be here at this time, doing this at this time, blah blah. It was insane, especially because she had given them such a discounted price. But she needed the work, she needed the money, so she was going to do it. And it's with one thing or another, her son had her phone, and she has one of those like backpack purses that have come back in style from the 90s. And her son is about 7. In his mind, he was like, let me put the phone in her backpack so that I am not the one holding this phone. So he steps forward to put her phone in her backpack, and right then she steps forward to get something like in front of her. And so they both move forward. He lets go of the phone, which he thinks is about to drop into the backpack, but she moves, and the phone drops to the ground, cracks. So she doesn't have enough money to go just immediately get a new phone, replace this one. She's been using the same phone for many years, and this is her phone. This is the one that she has to use. So she can't replace it. She now has no way to contact pretty much anybody. Friends and family did start to come check on her because they're like, where are you? But the person who she was supposed to be doing all this with, who she'd been, keeping up with, pretty much immediately replaced her with somebody else. And so she was not able to get that money, even though she was able to get a use a phone off of somebody else for the time being as her phone. She was not able to get that work because she wasn't responding for like a day. And so she was just cut off, she was cut out. And this is yet another example of how poverty will keep you back from being able to get your basic work, right? An example from my own experience, I was homeless for a little while, maybe 6 years ago, and it always struck me how much of a full-time job it was to do basic like hygiene things, like going to the free shower when on the days that it was open. Hundreds of people are there to use these 3 free showers, and it's across the town. Everything was across the town from each other. If you had to go to the bathroom, you had to go here. If you had to go get food, you had to go here. If you wanted to take a shower, you had to go here. If you wanted to go somewhere where you could get parked and you could park and not be harassed, or hang out and sleep in outside and not be harassed, you had to go here or here. It was like constantly having to shuffle around the entire city, because just for like basic needs, just for basic things, it was having to pay for a little bit of something from Burger King or McDonald's or whatever to be able to use the bathrooms in the morning. So that was like a constant source of income suck that when you didn't even really have that much income, and it's not like you can use your EBT for things like that. So, and if you wanted to have a bathroom, and like if you were okay with the bathroom with like tons of stalls, then you could maybe go to the grocery store. But again, those things are not right next to each other in the city that I was in. So it was like you were just constantly bouncing all over the place. And by the time you were done, the day was freaking over. There's the like issue of, if you don't have your hygiene up, if your hair is not done, if your face does look greasy, if your clothes are a bit smelly, you can't even get a job then once I got into housing, I also realized, like, if I didn't have the money to constantly keep my phone on, which I don't all the time, my phone is not on right now because I just don't have the money for that. But that also means I can't sign up for work, right? Because someone needs a way to call me. I need a consistent way for somebody to get in contact with me. And if that isn't happening, like, what am I to do? And then that also gets into, so let's say you get a Google Voice number. You have to be able to pay, what is a much larger bill. There's like, you can get like an $80 a month phone, but even with internet, that's like $100. That's still more. So you could use your internet on more things. You can have the Google Voice number, but that's still a bigger bill that you need to keep on than just keeping on your phone. So, you can't get remote work that way if you're not somebody who has a car, if you're not somebody who has transportation. That reminds me of another friend of mine who couldn't get a job that was 5 minutes away from her because there's no sidewalks. There's no good public transportation, any way for her to actually walk there. And then it's like, if she did choose to walk it, it's a super dangerous thing because, like I said, there's no sidewalks, there's no crosswalks, there's none of that. And then there's also like a weird point where you have to like U-turn yourself around this one kind of busy area. It's just not safe. And so she tried to see if she could get an Uber. Uber's charging $20 a ride for this 5-minute ride. Which is another story. When I took an Uber, a month or so ago, when I was working for the museum in Santa Cruz, one of the drivers was like, he's like, where does the money go? I've never seen a ride for cheaper than $10, even if it's like right up the road, but I'm only getting like $2. So where's all the money going? Like, who's earning all of this? Can you go talk to her about it? Okay, so she couldn't afford to take that job because she couldn't afford $20 a day. She can't afford to get herself a car. These streets are not made for pedestrians. They're made for car owners. And the junk car market was totally decimated back in the 90s when they did the like cash for clunkers thing, and they destroyed all those cars. So anybody who ever used to just buy $1,000 car and run it into the ground, that's not even an option anymore. All these used cars online are way more expensive than they need be. And there's no more clunkers anymore. You can't just buy a cheap piece of crap and go out, and if there is something out there, people are overpricing it because they know people are desperate. And that's really where we are. Like if you wanted to get a live-in van, it was already pretty expensive, I would say 5, 6, 7 years ago. But now it's impossible. It's impossible. People are out here asking for like 10, 20, $30,000 for a van from the 80s. It's nuts. You're too poor to do these things. So of course she had to turn down that work. And this brings me, I think I'll just wrap it up by talking about the fact that I made zero money, nada, by doing that work for the museum in Santa Cruz. And it wasn't for the museum. The museum is who stepped in and allowed us to finish the project. It was the city of Santa Cruz who was supposed to pay us all back at the beginning of October, and we didn't get paid until the very end of October, beginning of November. My final check I got in November 6th, but by then it was too late. By then I'd already incurred so many fees. My car had been repoed. Nothing was on. I ended up having to Uber out a bunch of times that I wasn't originally going to Uber because they kept switching the dates, because they wouldn't pay us, because they didn't bother to get the permits and they didn't bother to get any of this ready in the weeks ahead of time. And so therefore, I think I lost money. If I was to actually go in and do the money, I'm pretty sure I broke even, but there's a good chance that I lost like $100, $200 doing this because of all the fees that were incurred from paying my bills late, from all these other things. And the worst part is it's like I could have fundraised in the weeks ahead of time if like they had warned us. I could have done other work instead of doing this work, but because this was supposed to be like this lump sum and we were all going to get it and it was all going to be great, I wasn't able to actually by the time I realized what was going on, it was too late. You know what I mean? I was already in the thick of it. And actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I did lose money because I wasn't able to buy new materials. I had to shop my house, and I had to, go through and make things on my own, use things that were supposed to be for other projects. Oh, I ended up having somebody return something in one of my shops because by the time I saw that they got it and I ordered the material for their product, which is all made to order, the belly binding wraps are made to order, which people know. People are always like, I've never had a problem with it before now, but because now like shipping takes a lot longer than it used to, where the fabric would have come to me right quick. It did not come to me right quick. And so this person who wanted this product right quick, or quicker than I was able to do it, was like, fuck it. And so then they just filed something with their bank, took the money back, and then I got the $15 fee on top of that. So that was basically $100 loan, you know what I mean? So I'm like literally was hemorrhaging money trying to make money, and it got to the point where I had to just like throw up my hands and be like, yeah, like the only thing I can say I earned out of this was I got to be in a museum, which I've prayed about. I've wanted to be in a museum and have my quilts in a museum, which sadly I wasn't even able to put up the type of quilt I make in the museum. I ended up doing this patchwork quilt because I thought we were going to be outside at the clock tower. So I didn't even get to put up what I normally would have put up. The things I would have loved to put up, I wasn't able to put up because it just all sprang on me at once. But I do want to say that is a wonderful thing. And also, I got some brownie points with my brother-in-law, who we don't always get along very well. So I'm like, okay, that I guess is a win. But in the grand scheme of things, like, I'm broke, I don't have anything. And like, I want to be like, oh yeah, just hard work, put this stuff in, get hired by a legitimate place. But how much more legit can you get than like an actual city, an actual art council of the city who's voting and stuff, and I'm there watching them vote. But yet and still I get nothing from it. And I have to keep in mind that like this has been continuous. It's not even like it's like, oh, just this one thing or this two thing. It's been constantly. I'm having to be, having it thrown in my face that my own poverty is preventing me from getting more, preventing me from doing better, preventing me from making money, preventing me from creating, from getting to opportunities, all of these little things. And it adds up, and I've had my eyes open to it, especially these last few weeks since I've been bitter about not making any money off of like a month's worth of work that was supposed to be like a profit. of a lot more than it was. It was supposed to be like 3K profit, but instead I ended up having to like pay people who I wouldn't have normally paid, get help from things I normally wouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? So like it opened my eyes to my friends, and like, so I'm not sure if they've always been posting these things or if I'm just at the point where I'm like screenshotting all these things so I'll remember them later and be able to talk to you on this type of video. But it's just been so blatantly obvious to me, especially these last few weeks, just how much your poverty can hold you back. And some of these things should not be. Public transportation should be free. Healthcare should be free. Their internet, let's be real, should just be free. It should just be on all the time for everybody. Everybody's able to just connect and be able to be in. I like, there should be, yeah, get your private internet. Maybe there should be a public internet that's just available for everybody, no questions asked. And that would help alleviate so many of the issues that we have. So at any rate, I'm like, because of all this, because I was, oh, and then I also, I'm struggling to get like my tax refund. It's been like months of just like trying to verify myself with the IRS and all of this other stuff. I've like have some insurance thing where my husband got into an accident. They haven't sent the money. So it's just like constantly things are building up where there's supposed to be some kind of income coming in, and my own poverty is preventing me from being able to get these things, focus on these things, uh, overcome things that keep popping up. It's never ending. And I know I can't be the only one. I know I can't be the only one. So anyways, I don't, besides the fact that a lot of this shouldn't even be an issue in the richest country, the wealthiest country in the world, I don't have many other, thoughts to add to it, because I really think that a lot of this would just be so simply done if we upgraded our public transportation and made internet for free for everybody. Literally, those two things alone would transform the lives of millions of Americans and help us immensely, especially when it came to earning money, getting work, taking care of ourselves, since that's the society we're trying to live in. Like, certain things could just alleviate this and it would be a non-issue, and it would save people so much more money. It would save us so much more money. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and I'll see you next time.